After a few weeks of disappointing and dismal displays, West Ham United have bounced back and David Moyes' men have smashed Nottingham Forest by 4-0 in what was a fantastic performance. But what actually happened during the game, and what did West Ham do so well to claim such a good result? Join me as we head to the tactics board to talk about what West Ham did so well. Please make sure you like the video and subscribe, it really would mean a lot to me. But now, let's talk about how West Ham hammered Nottingham Forest. Here we have the way that West Ham set up against Nottingham Forest, and we also have the Nottingham Forest team, as I'm sure you can see. They're set up in a 4-2-3-1, and I've highlighted them in these blocks so they're just a little bit easier to see. It also is going to illustrate my point that little bit more. When we think about Nottingham Forest, we think about the way the West Ham are going to look at Nottingham Forest. Their setup is very, very narrow. You can see there is space down the flanks, and there are always going to be options for attacking those right backs and left backs. And I think that's exactly what David Moyes has isolated and looked at here. He's picked a forward-thinking team who are very good at going down the wings. If we just take a look at Ben Rama, take a look at Bowen, and think about the way that they would want to play. They stayed very wide, but also made sure that they got those crosses into the box. He utilised Danny Ings and his poaching ability, and really did come into full effect in the second half. As I'm sure you can see, I've got Johnson on the right and I've got Cresswell on the left. That's because Soufal got brought off at half time, and it just meant that there was a little bit of a reshuffle. We're going to go with that reshuffle because that's where most of the goals came from in the second half. Souček and Paqueta again holding their width next to Ben Rama and Bowen, and it just allowed Rice to move in about the park and then drive over into the left hand channel, where he did pick up the ball on certain occasions, and into the right hand channel whenever he needs to try and pick up the ball to try and make those recovery tackles. But going forwards, I think that David Moyes did a very good job of specifically isolating the two Nottingham Forest fullbacks. I thought it was something that he did very, very well. We'll do this one and we'll do this one. And I think that he really put Bowen on the likes of the Nottingham Forest left back, and I think he did exactly the same for Ben Rama with the Nottingham Forest right back, and really they just drove at them. When they moved the play forwards, which is what we're going to do in a second, they really started to isolate the 1v1 areas. And what's wrong with this system for a Nottingham Forest point of view is when they do start to isolate, it becomes very difficult for the defending players, for the midfielders to really come across and get some help. And you can see this in a couple of the goals. We see the Nottingham Forest right centre mid and the left centre mid, they just get drawn out a little bit more, and that is going to leave a lot of space in the middle, which is why Declan Rice has so much free space in the centre of the park. If I move some of these boxes away so you can have a bit of a clearer illustration, it was this area here in particular that allowed Declan Rice to really get his shot off, and that was due to the dragging of players. They got moved about all of the time, and that's because of the width that West Ham continuously held. I was very impressed by the amount of width that West Ham held, not just in the wide areas with Bowen and Ben Rama, but particularly with Paqueta, who managed to drift in between those areas. And actually, if you think about two of those goals, it actually came from the likes of Ben Rama getting here, the likes of Bowen getting here, and just playing those crosses into Danny Ings. If I do that in a different colour, it looks a bit better, doesn't it? Into Danny Ings. And again, that's where both of the goals came from. Danny Ings is a very, very good goal scorer. He's a bit injury prone, but he's got a very good knack at being in the right place at the right time. And I actually think that's something that they have missed of late. Antonio is a good, hard-working player, and he's very good in the air. He's good physically. But there is something about Danny Ings that's indifferent to the likes of Antonio that just gives him that little bit of the edge in the box. Also, when you're thinking about it, Rice is able to really move himself about and make sure that these two players who were on the day, Brennan Johnson and Morgan Gibbs-White, they weren't able to really counter-attack. This meant that Aguerd and Ogbono had a pretty easy time. It also allowed for the overlaps of Cresswell, who was still going to drag the runs from the Nottingham Forest right backs and left backs. Johnson's overlapping run as well allows Bowen to cut inside and make that run into that inside channel between the centre back and the full back. Ben Rama could do exactly the same, and then you have the link up with Paqueta. It was all about positioning, it was all about playmaking, it was all about isolating those wide areas. And to be honest with you, the Nottingham Forest players were just not ready for it, and I don't think Steve Cooper really could do anything different with the side that he picked because of the lack of real wide play that he has in his team. He had to pick this team, and it was unfortunate that they were ripped apart to such an extent, but that was only down to the good management, the good movement, and the good passing strategy that West Ham had. I was extremely impressed by the likes of Johnson and Cresswell, who maintained their defensive structure while also being able to create those overlaps and allow Benrahma and Bowen to have their space. It was overall an extremely good performance for West Ham, utilising those wide areas, those out-and-out wingers to be able to drift inside into those infield positions, in the positions in between the fullback and the centre-back, utilising the central attacking power of Paquetá and Souček, who made a good amount of runs, a good amount of passes to be able to link up play between Danny Ings, Bowen and Benrahma. And then you had the defensive solidity of Declan Rice helping out Aged and Ogbonna. It's something that is going to be very positive for West Ham fans going forwards. They're going to need more from this, yes, in their battle to get away from the relegation zone, but these green shoots are something that I think a team like West Ham desperately needed to see, and to come so far into the season will be something of a worry. However, the fact that they have materialised at all is something to be very, very happy about. With this kind of performance, and if they can string a couple of these together, I see no reason why West Ham cannot escape the battle for the relegation zone and creep back up the table. That's it for today, guys. Thank you ever so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please leave the video with a like and subscribe if you haven't for more content like this coming very soon. Make sure you hit that notification bell as well. You don't want to miss what's coming up in the near future, and let me know your thoughts in the comment section below on West Ham and the game that they had against Nottingham Forest. How do you see West Ham seasons going, and where do you think they're going to finish come the end of the season? Let me know your thoughts. I would love to hear from you. But like I said, that's it from me for today. Thank you ever so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week, and I hope to see you in the next one. But until then, my friends, take care of yourselves, and bye-bye.